This is Eric.
Victorian England had a huge influence on the fashion and styles that were happening in Highland dress in Scotland.
Tartan is Scotland's gift to the world, and it is your personal heritage story. Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome to Kilts and Culture. I am Rocky. This is Eric.
Yo.
Today, special treat. I'm getting worse at this as the time goes on.
You're supposed to be getting better.
I know. It's not how it rolls. Today, we had a special gift from our friend Malcolm Brown. We have the Bunnahabhain Eri Negrania. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. That's from the research we've done. That's the best you're going to get out of me. It is a Scots Gaelic word, so I'm not a Scots Gaelic expert.
Eri Negrania.
Eri Negrania.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, behind the mic, we have our good friend Ian. He's going to be co-hosting the show today, or producing, or whatever. He's
MC.
back there.
I like to say MC.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mac is out in an event, so we got Ian and me and Eric. Sorry, that's all you got. All right.
For me.
I will begin pouring this.
Now, is Mac in 1918 today or 1942?
He said he was in the trenches, so I'm going to go with 1918 most likely.
Yeah, okay.
I will point something out. It's a wide bottle to try to hold.
It is.
I don't like pouring from this. You have to pour two-handed like a toddler. Well, I don't know how many toddlers are pouring whiskey, but
Okay, Karen. Can you go on Yelp? Complain about it?
I'm noticing things about the glass.
I see.
About the bottle. And
Well, I noticed is that it's got there's a little sailor guy on there, and it's like
You want more? Yeah, let me give you.
I'm assuming that's some kind of the backstory of the distillery.
Yeah.
Something nautical.
While you are there, Mr. Ian.
Yep. County Tyrone.
County Tyrone.
You didn't even wait for him to ask it. Okay.
Sir?
What tartan are you wearing, Ian?
Well, I
County
said
Tyrone?
while you were there.
County Tyrone, he
Yes,
said.
so Ian has on County Tyrone.
Mm-hmm.
Eric?
Scruffy Wallace.
Ooh, that is a lovely looking tartan.
I love
Eric,
this tartan. You can't get any more.
I know. Well, watch this space.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was talking to Josh, and he's very, very keen to do another run of the Scruffy Wallace tartan.
Really?
So,
Not his one.
correct.
Not his new one. Okay.
That one.
Okay.
So it may be a thing. It may be a thing.
Cool.
No one actually knew that, so that wasn't planned.
Yeah. No, that's,
all right.
Yeah. Good to hear.
So, Bunnahabhain, the Eri Negrania. What do we got smelling here?
I don't know. My nose is cold.
Your nose is cold?
It's freezing in here.
I know. I'm like David Letterman to keep the studio cold because I sweat too much.
Smells a little spicy.
Yeah. A little fruity, a little spicy.
Yeah, I was getting a little
So from the nose,
appley.
I'm gathering that it is fruity and aromatic, sweet and intense, with an inviting spicy aroma. I'm getting the last few things first.
You're invited?
Yes, the spicy
Yes.
and the intense.
Okay.
Not so much getting the fruity part.
Okay. And Eri
I don't know
Negrania
about
means
the-
morning sky in Scots, apparently. That's very nice. Morning sky. So this is the whiskey you drink in the morning.
Sailor, take warning.
Exactly. Whiskey in the morning, Sarah, take warning.
Yeah.
So the palate is rich with sweet, dark fruit notes and peppered with warming spices. Sweet, rich spices evolve into flavors of roasted nuts, fresh fruits, and hints of the sea, which will transport you to the Bunnahabhain Pier at sunrise.
The
Did I pronounce it wrong?
I'm choking on that description as well.
Yeah.
It's when they get too crazy with it transports me. No, it's not transporting me anywhere. I'm drinking scotch in my studio.
Don't go to Trouble's End Brewery. They have some pretty
flowery
language to
Yes,
describe their
yes.
beers.
And the thing is, as a true lover of marketing, I should love all that, but I'd smell the bullshit.
The only pier I've ever wanted to be transported
ship.
to was Halifax, but
Yeah,
that's when I was a broken man.
I know.
Yeah.
The last
The last
of Barrett's
Halifax.
of
Privateers.
Rocky's privateers.
Halifax is landlocked.
There's a song called
It's
"The
a
Last
song.
of Barrett's Privateers."
Okay.
You don't
So
know?
we're not talking about Halifax, Pennsylvania then.
No.
Okay.
We're talking about Nova
Okay.
No,
Scotia.
the original Halifax.
The
Wow.
OG.
Yes. His
Anyhow.
knowledge of Canadian borders and whatnot.
I was just making a joke.
I know. Sorry, Matt. blew
Sometimes you
yours out
play
there.
stupid for the joke.
I know.
So the finish is supposed to be smooth, full-bodied, and lingering.
I'm not getting much of this at all. Let me try a little water. I'm getting the spicy.
Definitely spicy.
And for me, a little bit of a caramelly, apricot-y kind of a vibe.
Okay.
But not...
I don't think I'm getting that, but...
Yeah.
I'm definitely getting the spicy.
Spicy for sure.
The spicy more than anything else.
Spicy for sure. But not like overpowering spicy. I like it.
It feels very short to me. Getting all this stuff up front in the front of my mouth, not so much. I don't know about the finish.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not tasting. I agree. More front of the mouth. It's warming for me, like a pretty good amount warming.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get a little bit of fruit, not a ton.
This was an Isla Scotch, correct?
Northern
part of the island?
You gotta go with the notes. No. Isla Scotch. Yeah, it says Isla Scotch.
Maybe I'm realizing I'm not much of an Isla person.
This doesn't taste like a typical Isla to me.
Correct. It's
not very peaty.
not very peaty, not very smoky.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. No smoke.
It's the opposite side of the island for most of the famous Isla distilleries.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus, tell me about it.
The smoke didn't travel that far. The wind was
Yeah.
blowing the other
It's
direction.
bad whiskey.
There's a
Born on the wrong
southeasterly
side of
wind,
the
yeah.
island.
Okay.
Nobody wanted to give him a chance.
Indeed. If any of you out there have had this, let us know what you think of it. It's not super complex. The spicy is definitely the strongest
I would say the
element
spicy.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not been open for a long time. I think
Yeah, we always make that comment.
drop of water definitely opened it up a little bit. We always make that comment as well because it's true. But it wasn't like I didn't get the overwhelming hairspray or alcohol burn nose or mouth when we opened it up and drank essentially right out of the bottle. I think Jace tried some of this earlier today, but it was there's been no air really circulating in there.
I didn't get to see his face.
Oh, it was a good one.
I believe.
Jace was not a fan. Not a fan. All right.
Scores?
Yeah. Let's do some scores. Yeah. It's a little light in color. Legs aren't bad. So positive. Legs aren't bad, I guess.
I'm afraid we're kind of leading the witness here. I think I have a sense of what we're both going to say. So.
Okay. Ian, what score would you give the Bunnahabhain Erinagreina?
I have to say I'm disappointed that I don't like it more. And that shouldn't count against it.
Do we know what this cost?
I don't.
Shoot.
This was a gift from, as you said, Malcolm Brown, who brought it over with him from the UK when he visited us earlier this year. So I was really hoping for something really special here, and it's just okay. I'm going to go with a 5, I think.
It's a 5? Okay.
Yeah, 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to refresh people with the meaning of our number scale?
Sure.
Real quick?
The way we scale the numbers, if it is 1 or 2, politely refuse. 5, it's average. 8 and above, it's I would drive somewhere to get this.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ian gives it a 5. A straight 5, 5-0.
I don't know. I'm thinking like a 4.6.
Okay.
It really is just kind of meh to me.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a tiny little bit of peatiness if you take a good swallow and let it work in the back of your throat there, but on the back end I'm getting a little bit of peatiness. But
I think this is going to be a creeper. I think the more this kind of sits, we're going to improve the score.
Probably.
If we drink it later in the show.
I don't disagree.
Tasting it now after it's been open for 8 minutes, I'm liking it a little bit more.
Should you really be piloting a ship if you've been drinking though? I mean,
it's not the first time.
I'm looking at this
Won't be
guy
the
at
last.
the wheel. Yarr, ha, ha, yarr.
All right.
Sorry.
So, I'm gonna go 6-4.
Oh.
I like it, and I think the more I drink, the more I like. No, but it's one of those where I think it's gonna open up and it's gonna kind of calm down a little bit when it just sits for 5-10 minutes. So, I'm
Like
gonna
in
go
a therapy
6-4.
session. Okay.
Exactly.
You know,
Isn't that
open
what
up
this
and
is? Yes.
calm yourself.
Exactly. Where on the bottle did the Bunnahabhain touch you?
Oh, jeez.
We're not right.
No.
All right.
It's been a long week.
Very good. All right, boys and girls, that is it for our tasting. Well, tasting until we want to drink more. Load in your questions. Let us know what questions you have about kilts or Scottish culture, Irish culture. And we are, as always, but your humble servants here to answer any questions you have. As the questions pile in, Mr. Eric, what do we have preloaded questions from audience beforehand?
Big thank you to people who submitted questions. We are always looking for them, and we had, as we kept saying this week, an embarrassment of riches. We had a lot of really good ones, and I'm hoping we'll get to some of them. If we don't, we'll get them to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
there were a couple who actually say because we think we want to use them for our new podcast show, Haggis Hunting. So.
Yeah. No, I was. Normally we get several questions. I think this is the first time we actually asked YouTube in the community tab to solicit questions from there. Yeah, there was a lot of really good, insightful, like thought-provoking type questions this month.
Yeah.
So I'm psyched to get in.
Psyched.
Let's do it.
All right.
Jump right in.
Very first one. Hey, Rocky, you know what's happening at the end of this month?
What, Eric?
Yeah, more whiskey drinking. Yes, it's a little event known as Burns Night. Burns Suppers.
And my birthday. Near that.
And your birthday.
Yes. I'll drink then too.
And so, yeah, this question relates to Burns Suppers. Jared Bruce asked us, what are some good substitutes for haggis for a Burns Night supper? Is there a traditional alternative menu option?
A good substitute for haggis. It depends on what you're doing. If you're looking for vegetarian haggis, I think it exists.
Yeah,
it's not going to be.
There is vegetarian haggis.
Yeah, I don't know how haggis-esque it will actually be. I don't know if I would ever try it. I would never try it. I'll make that statement right here, right now. But yeah, it's good. There's no substitute. I mean, like the haggis is kind of the centerpiece for burn suppers, and
right.
You have an entire address to the haggis. So I don't know if there is a good substitute.
You can't. I mean, it's not really a burn supper without a haggis. I mean, it is basically the star of the show. So I don't see how you could do that. I do think there are ways you could make a haggis which would be not a haggis. And we can talk about that maybe, but you really can't have a burn supper without a haggis, I would argue.
Yeah. The purpose of a burn supper is to celebrate the life and works of Robert Burns, and it is to steep yourself in not just Robert Burns' works, but also the music, the songs, like all kinds. Like you're steeping yourself in the culture, and the haggis is kind of part of that. You're experiencing the whole thing and putting together a whole cultural experience. If you're actually putting on the dinner, or you're going to one for an entire cultural experience, so I would say don't let it stop you from having a burn supper. Like if you just cannot stomach haggis, no pun intended. I didn't actually mean that one. And you need to substitute a meatloaf because it's just immediate family or something like that, and nobody really wants haggis, or they're not brave enough. Fine, do a meatloaf. Maybe do a mock thing. But at this this is the cutting of the haggis. But at the same time, it's part of it is experiencing the different cultures and experiencing what your ancestors have done and experiencing different things and getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. So it's kind of, I won't say defeats the purpose to not have a haggis, because you can still get at it with the ancillary stuff you involve at the event, but it's kind of a seminal part of the event.
Yeah, there's kind of you're definitely tying both hands behind your back to do a burn supper without a haggis. But I know that there is a history of people trying to do burn suppers with not a quote unquote traditional haggis for various reasons. Like you couldn't really get them in this country for a long time. Regulations on imports have been relaxed, but you still are not getting the offal organ meats content necessarily in this country that you do in other countries. But
that full lung flavor.
Yeah, but you can buy haggis that in this country. And I'm not talking about canned. You can actually buy haggai. You can go out and hunt your own, of course, if you're good and you're in the right region. Easier in the Midwest though, for some reason. But no, seriously, there is vegetarian haggis out there, and there are lots of recipes. The secret to the flavor of a haggis is really in the spices and the fat content.
Yep.
So I've actually made a pseudo haggis in a crock pot I used a combination of pork and lamb ground meat, and the spices are actually classic medieval to early modern period spices like black pepper, nutmeg, clove I think is one, a few other things like that, and so it's about the spice content. And if you have tried other early period foods, the profile is actually not unfamiliar. And you don't even have to worry about the whole it's inside a stomach. Well, the casings are almost invariably synthetic cases nowadays. So here or in Scotland. And
if you're looking for a haggis for your burn supper, or if you want to try haggis, any time of the year, is it Scottish Gourmet?
Yeah.
Check out the Scottish Gourmet. That's our friends Andrew and Anne. Very, very wonderful people. They make. Andrew is from Scotland. He's an expat, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice people. They have the best haggis that I've had in America outside of Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So don't skimp on the haggis. If you have to make a substitute, find a way to make a substitute. But I wouldn't try to do a burn supper without one. I mean, what's a traditional main course in Scotland that would be one you don't think of as the national food? I mean,
I have no idea.
Steak.
Yeah. Now, and I'll point this out as well. If you are the one hosting a burn supper, make sure your guests don't, and you're looking for a substitute for haggis, make sure your guests don't want to try it or will not try it, and make sure that they're all aware that you're doing something different with that course. Because what you don't want is to have somebody disappointed showing up for a burn supper because they're all excited to try haggis, and then they walk in the door and you're like, here's our meatloaf, because not many of us really like it. We weren't sure. And then we're like, oh, man, I really wanted to try it now.
Why the haggis?
It's kind of one of those things like, think of it this way. It's one of those things like, for me, fish. I will never, ever go out to a restaurant or order fish or order something that I don't know if I'm going to like. But if I'm at someone's house and they have it as a meal or as part of the meal or whatever, then, okay, I'll expand my horizons and I'll take a little bit, I'll try a little bit just to see if I like it or not. Okay. I'm allowed to test the water without dropping $20-25 on a fish meal that I'm like, I hate this, take it away. Does that make sense?
Kinda.
Sure.
I mean, you should do your best to accommodate your guests, and you should be a polite guest, I guess. Yeah. But I think you can find recipes for things that would work if you're really worried about from a dietary standpoint or something like that. But don't just. I can't think of an alternative national cuisine. I mean, pie, black pudding, but it's not the thing. It's not the thing.
It's not haggis. There's no ode to black pudding.
There's no Sansi face on a black pudding.
Not with that attitude. You just got to draw it on there. All right, Mr. Ian.
So I'll add that ScottishGourmetUSA.com is the website for the place you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
I've had their haggis. It's good. They also do a vegetarian, primarily mushroom-based one I've had.
Right.
It's not haggis, but it's delicious, and I liked it.
And like I said, it's about the spices. It really is about the spices. So
I'll add that I host a small Burns night for a few friends, most of whom aren't Scottish. They're kind of amused by it more than anything, and that's kind of fun too.
Were you ever invited?
No,
I wasn't invited.
No, nobody.
I don't consider Ian a
I've
friend.
invited you to my house several times, and you've never come, Rocky.
Wow. Ouch.
But we do a haggis, and I've often the last couple of years I've also done a sous vide roast of some kind as a side, in case anybody doesn't want the haggis or they just want to try the haggis and have that too. So that's an option.
Nice.
Some of the folks in the comments have been saying that, talking about what other traditional main course there'd be in Scotland. They're talking about tatties and mince. It's a common one, I guess.
Carp?
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna have tatties anyway.
Yeah. Usually haggis is served with neeps and tatties.
Neeps and tatties. Yeah.
Turnips and
it's kind of there.
Potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Roast mouse. I mean, what else did Robert Burns eat? I don't know.
Sheep.
A lot of yeah. Yeah, actually, but I don't like. Yeah.
Healing coup. Yeah.
Alcohol. He had alcohol for most
Love
of his
alcohol.
meals.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yes. We're drinking
It's notable we're all older than he was when he passed.
Fair. All right. What questions we have from
Yeah.
the audience?
So let's go with the
Facebooks and the TikTok lands.
the first one
And the
we
YouTubes.
got from Stray Cat 1674 on
Again?
YouTube.
Don't you have anything better to do on a Friday afternoon, Stray Cat?
No, apparently he
Apparently
doesn't.
not. Okay.
He or she doesn't. I'll throw the one question I have out right now. Since the ski and do sits so low in the kilt hose, what is the purpose of having certain decorations on it, like the clan crest, for example?
Always wondered that too, because I feel like you either show off the clan crest that's in the middle of the handle, or you tuck it in so it's not actually going to fall out.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of, it's like, and I see people, it's just like looks really unstable. It's just really unstable when you have it so far up that you can actually see the crest. So I don't know.
Ian,
Yes.
how many people have commented to you, either at festivals or in your tenure as store manager, that they're buying a skin do because they lost or ski and do because they lost one because it fell out of their sock?
I can't recall a time that's ever happened.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's happened. I've had it commented several times. So and that's typically because people wear it too high or they're running or doing
Because they're
jumping
trying to
jacks or
show
something.
off that crest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So I understand the aversion or the question of why are the things down so low. Typically on a ski and do you have at most 2 inches ish out of the top of the sock. And it also would depend on I'll get like weirdly granular. The size of the cuffs and the height of the flashes or the garters that you're wearing underneath the cuff of the kilt hose. So if you have your flashes with the elastic band and you're wearing it high, so that only a little bit of, and you have let's say a 3-inch or so cuff, and you only have little tiny bits of the flag showing out the bottom, then yeah, you can wear it up a little bit higher. But if you put your flashes down a little bit lower to show more of the flags, and you have the kilt or the ski and do up higher, maybe it's a little more precariously placed.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, because I've always, I think it depends on the shape of your leg and how tight you're wearing the flashers or garter ties. So you have more compression on it. And like you said, how thick the cuff of the kilt hose are. I've tried wearing a skin do so you can actually see the crest, and it always felt precarious to me. So I compromise on like, well, I just have like a bit of it peeking out, so it's there, and I can get out if I want to. But the attention is going to go to the jewel because that's what you can see. But I've always just felt like it was just too loosey goosey personally.
Yeah.
So your mileage may vary, but yeah, I don't know, it's a weird thing to me.
Yeah, and
But
it's
go ahead.
no, please.
I was gonna say, I think that's why I prefer skin do that are the handle as a whole is a piece of artwork as opposed to the crest in the middle of the handle, which you may or may not get to see. There was a post recently of I forget the name of the maker, but these gorgeous like scrimshaw carved ones, some very traditional looking, some very modern looking, but the design is all hand carved, so that the entire handle of the knife is a work of art. So no matter what part of it you can see, it's gorgeous. And I think I like that kind of vibe better than the classic formal, clan crest jewel.
I'll also go like in a slightly tangential off topic direction. I kind of see the crest to some degree as the same way that you would see like the paisley lining in your suit jacket. It's not necessarily there for other people. It's there for you. It's there for you to know that the thing exists or that it's adorned with a specific logo or a specific thing, in the same way that suit jackets have the paisley lining. So it's not, I'd rather tuck it in the sock and not have other people see it. Because remember, frankly speaking, they're not going to identify, looking down at your leg, a badge the size of a dime or a nickel, and know, oh, hey, that's the gun, clan crest and motto. You're part of my... They're not going to know that. So don't worry about that too much. It's more there for you. It's to make the item cool looking to you and mean something to you. It's not there to It's there to identify you as a part of a particular clan if you get a clan crest skin do.
Yeah.
But it's not the be all end all of the experience. You know, your tartan says as much, if not 100 times more, than the crest on your skin do.
I agree. I just came up with a story, but I don't think I should relate it.
Now I'm kind of scared about the story.
Do you want to hear the story?
Now I'm kind of interested in this story.
See, what most people forget is that starting in the late 16th century, especially with the rise of Protestantism, those who were Catholic in the clans would perform a blood rite before going into battle, and this consisted of taking your skin due with the clan crest on it, and basically you'd stick it into a log or wrist up against a haystack, whatever was convenient. You put the scabbard behind it so that you're forming the sign of the cross. And then you would meditate upon the honor of your clan and the inspiration of your ancestors and the holiness of your cause, and you'd say your prayers. And then you'd do a small scar just across your cheek, which most scientists think it's basically related to getting your adrenaline rush up. You know, it's basically getting your blood literally moving. And you'd perform that blood rite before going into battle, and that is one of the hidden secret uses of the skin dew. But the crest was basically there, not originally, but later on, as a way of, you know, kind of contemplating the importance of your clan and the fact that your ancestors were watching over you. The skin dew blood rite. You heard it here first.
I have not.
Sure did hear it first.
You'll only ever hear it here. I have not drank enough this early in the show for such bombastic
I clearly
stories.
have.
There you go, college kids. Use that in your report.
Right.
Yeah. There you go, AI.
I was about to say, chat GUI.
Stick that in your chat GPT and smoke it.
Always check your sources, kids.
Don't ever use him as a source.
Don't ever use me as a source.
Off the cuff, anyway. Yes.
Joe Vernig wants to know if you're also selling a bridge.
Several.
They're all in London.
And some swampland in Florida.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, that was Ian.
It sure was.
Please, for the record, all that was BS. Please, just here's my disclaimer. Don't ever quote that.
It'd make a great scene in a novel or
The
or
opinions
TV
and
show.
comments of Eric Anderson do not necessarily reflect those of USA Kilts.
I want Albanach to do a song just for me called, you know, Blood Rite of the Skin Dew. You know.
No, they won't.
Okay. Orcinus Undine. Orcinus Undine? I'm sorry, I'm not catching his name.
They're YouTube names.
They're a YouTube name.
Yeah, it's a YouTube handle. So,
Hey,
Orcinus, what's up, buddy?
Hey, and they said, regarding tartan variety, I'm thinking of venturing out of kilted skirt territory and into man kilt land. So, female, ostensibly. Probably 13-ounce tartan. However, I love the length of a kilted skirt. Would something like this be possible, or would the 13-ounce wool look weird at that length, if it can be done at all? So, I'm going to guess she are the pronouns, but wanting to, instead of do a kilted skirt, do a male-type traditional kilt, or at least a long kilt in a heavier fabric.
I was taking that as more of like a kilted
Yeah.
skirt-ish thing.
Yeah.
In 13-ounce cloth.
Some kind of a hybrid of the two traditional things.
Yeah. I will start here. The best, most common weight of cloth for a kilted skirt is 11 ounce or 10 ounce in the case of Loch Erin. It is a lighter, it is a softer, it has a slightly different hand to the fabric than 13 ounce or 16 ounce material for man's kilt. It is a longer garment, a kilted skirt or a hostess skirt. So it's going to trap more air. So you want something a little bit more lightweight, a little more flowy, so you're not too hot. And you don't, especially for women who, assuming you shave your legs, then you have in 13 or 16, it can get a little bit scratchy, or a little bit irritativeness.
Scratchy.
Yeah, scratchy. If you're wearing a heavier weight fabric for your legs where you shave, but the 10 ounce, the 11 ounce tends to be a little bit softer.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is going to be a heavier garment, so it may drag a little bit. Ian, the kilt that Emma was wearing today that you guys were discussing, that's Relia tartan, right? So was that 13 ounce?
That's
Correct.
16 ounce.
That's 16 ounce.
Yep.
Okay, so obviously we'd have to ask her, but I'm assuming that she's fine with it.
Or,
So,
or she may be
yeah.
wearing like spandex or something underneath it.
Yeah,
too.
maybe if she's wearing a slip or
She
spandex.
does usually
but-
wear some kind of leggings or something. So.
Okay. So that might
didn't
be.
notice today.
There's nothing wrong with trying to do a hybrid garment like this, I would say, but you do need to be aware of what you're getting into as well as the cost, because the fabric cost may be a bit higher. Am I correct?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
13 or 16 ounces, a little bit higher. Yeah.
I guess the question is, are the other construction points going to be the same? Like, is this person looking for wider kilt straps like on a man's kilt, or thinner kilt skirt type straps like
Don't
on
introduce
Emma's?
these ideas.
Sorry, I'm making you money, Ian. You want people to get inspired so they come and buy the stuff from us. That's kind of the idea. Yeah,
It's you have to worry about rise a little bit in the sides of the straps and the curve of a woman versus the curve of a man, or lack thereof.
yeah, the fell, the construction of the fell. I was
The
like,
felt, the
and the
portion, the upper
scalloping
portion, yeah.
could be
well, no, there wouldn't be
interesting, but-
necessarily scalloping, but it's more the weight and the hang and the flow of the garment in 13 ounce versus 11 ounce. It's I will say that we've done kilted skirts in 13 ounce. If there's no alternative, Irish County tartans. The Irish County collection is only available in 13 ounce. Therefore, you don't have an option to have an 11 ounce kilted skirt in that, so we have to do a 13 ounce. And it's fine. It's not my preference, not that I'm wearing it, but as a maker, it's not my preference, but it's not the end of the world. 16 ounce, it's a little heavy for a kilted skirt. Depending on the depth of the pleats and how that reacts as well. But it's not the end of the world. It's been done for 13 ounce.
So I think with those caveats in place, you could theoretically pursue the project, but it is a custom-made garment, and so it's going to cost some money. So be sure you're willing to gamble a little bit with that money on a unique experiment like that.
Yeah, it's a one-off. Anything like that is going to be, and anything custom made to your measurements is going to be a non-returnable type thing, whether it's from us or somebody else, unless they're like way too generous. But yeah, it can be done. Go for it.
Yeah.
Indeed. Mr. Ian,
Yes.
are you paying any attention at all?
Yes.
Sure.
He's
Yeah,
over there. He's just
Something
getting-
about skiing dues and blood rights. I heard you.
Good job. Good job.
Ready for another question?
Sure.
I
Why
should-
not?
So let's go with our friend Viking Nephilim on YouTube. He says, as a somewhat large chap, 52-inch chest, 62-inch stomach. Not sure why he wanted to share his measurements here, but that's
52
fine.
chest, 62 stomach. So got a bit of a belly. Got it.
Yeah. What would you recommend by way of jackets?
We're off to a great start.
Love it. No, I understand the reason you're asking the question. I understand your pain. The problem, what he's essentially describing is, the problem is when you have a normal, whether it's suit jacket or kilt jacket, it doesn't really matter. The maker of the jacket in a stock size is assuming, or is has a pattern that the chest is bigger than the waist, so they're always going to taper the jacket down a little bit. If you're, as in this gent's example, his chest is 52, his waist is 65. You're going to have something made to measure. It's going to have to be custom made for you. No off the rack jacket is going to fit that much of a difference this direction versus this direction. You're stuck in the donut hole, so to speak, that bodybuilders are stuck in, or guys with really big bellies and small chests are stuck in, where it's not going to be a standard size. And frankly speaking, having something that's even just buying a stock size to fit the belly and then trying to taper the shoulders in, or taking it to a tailor and trying to have it altered to fit your torso, your chest but still allow for the belly, it's not going to be a great finished product. So the struggle is real here.
Yeah.
For gents of different proportions. Some companies will do fully made to measure things. We used to do them. We had some problems overall. Like, if 5 out of 10 fit, that's not a good batting average. So we had some problems overall with the fit of fully made to measure stuff. I don't want to turn away business, but at the same time, you may be better served by going to a tailor local to you and showing them a jacket or showing them, pictures or whatever, and saying, hey, can you make this type of thing for me? And having someone who has the advantage of having your physical form in front of them to be able to have something made to measure for you versus going, even when we did it, having, you send us pictures and a bunch of measurements that we're crossing our fingers and hoping are right, and then mailing across or emailing across to Scotland, having them make something and having play, monkey in the middle or whisper down the lane on the measurements, and hoping that the finished thing fits, but being ultimately disappointed if it's not exactly perfect, and then taking it to a tailor anyway and having them tweak it. You may be better served going straight to a tailor with images or a stock, jacket and vest, and saying, here, can you make this thing for me? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep.
Ian. Go ahead.
I only had from a style standpoint, I would argue that of all the types of jackets out there, you're probably going to be best served getting this thing custom made and going with a single button closure jacket. They tend to be more forgiving and a better silhouette for a larger gent. The more buttons you have, the more vertical the closure is, the closer the closure is, the more awkward it looks when it goes from belly up to chest. Because you're a three-dimensional being. You're not a cookie cutter, paper cutout. Yeah, you're not a paper doll.
One of those.
So I was trying to imagine if there's something else that might work as well.
A Prince Charlie. Because it doesn't close at all.
Because it doesn't close at all. Exactly.
Yeah. And the vest being a long lapel, and it comes down 3-button vest down here, that may be much more forgiving on him.
I agree. They can look awkward because of gapping, but the cut of the jacket, a PC, or maybe some kind of a Sheriff Muir thing. But I don't think the standing collar would look good on a larger guy. So I would say either the classic single button Argyle cut or the classic PC. I do think the wider lapels are another advantage. They tend to draw more attention to the shoulders. So to this area. So I would, in terms of style, really the most traditional ones, the most bog standard ones are actually better for bigger guys, which is probably why they've become bog standard. Yeah. But you were trying to ask Ian.
Do you have any thoughts or opinions on such a matter?
Honestly, I think you covered all the things I would have said.
Okay,
if
fair.
I'm being honest.
It's
okay.
No, you should ask for fully made to measure, and then email and ask for Ian, and he will help you with every single facet of everything you need to do.
Do that, please.
Well, if you
and
can
ask
allow
for the wide straps too.
Yeah, and if you can allow 2 or 3 weeks, we will fly him out to your home.
Oh yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Measuring in home. That's a new service we offer here at USA Kilts.
Yes, it is.
We won't fly him. He'll drive.
You're right.
It's fine.
You're right.
It depends on the distance, but I won't drive to Australia. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
So.
Submarine. Get one of those the duck cars from Boston.
Yeah, I know we have somebody tuning in from New Zealand. I won't drive there. We have somebody from Buenos Aires though, so maybe I could drive there.
You could. You actually could.
Yeah.
But
don't know if it's a good idea, but
Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's awesome.
Little toast for Buenos Aires there. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it's fine.
The person who asked the question is from 30 miles north of London, so I won't drive there.
Nice. Yeah. I'll go.
I didn't say I wouldn't go.
Fly me over. I'll do the job.
All right. Very good. Mr. Eric.
Yeah.
I think you're next one.
I am. Peter Hutchinson sent this one in. He said, "We all know the tale of how Rocky willed a dressier version of the hunting sporran through sheer force of will and ingenuity. If you were to go further, though, and have a dress hunting sporran made, what fur would you use and what sort of cantle would you give such a creation?" So he's asking for a hybrid between a dress sporn and a hunting sporn, not unlike the fur-fronted hunting sporn that you did.
Yeah,
But
yeah. But
one-
dress it up one step more.
Kick it up a notch.
Okay. What fur and what cantle? So a hunting sporn, the biggest elements, there's three real elements to a hunting sporn in my mind. You have 5 leaves as opposed to 3 tassels. They're leather leaves that are kind of sewn to the front of the sporn. You have a big old targe, which is this circle, like there is a targe. It's a big circle that goes underneath the cantle or underneath the rim of the sporn. And a hunting sporn has what I would say leather cantle, not really a cantle, but like kind of a turnover leather bit at the top, and then stud embellishments around the top of the
A lot
sporn.
of the time.
Yeah,
I've seen roping also.
correct.
Yeah.
So, but the leather bit at the top is what really gives it the chef's kiss of the hunting sporn. It's part of the design. When you move into a metal cantle, you're kind of into like pipe band sporn territory, because you have a 5-leaf pipe band sporn with a metal cantle, so you get a little bit that direction. If I had to do a fur and a cantle, I would probably do if I have to do a cantle, I would probably do something simpler and just a straight semicircle, like whether it's embellished or not.
Yep.
But a semicircle, not a weird scalloped one like our Fenrir or our like the Fighting Stags cantles that we have.
Yeah.
Because when the bottom it's kind of an M shape, that would intrude upon the targe. I would absolutely have a targe. You would absolutely have the 5 leather leaves on it. So a simpler, just semicircle kind of cantle. For the fur, I would stick with something short hair. I know Mac has a red fox hunting sporn that he did custom for himself.
Yep.
And the problem that I have with it, it looks nice, but the problem that I have with it, if you have a denser fur or like a poofier fur, it ends up the fur envelops the 5 leaves that are sticking down in the front of the sporn, so they're less of an element. Therefore, I would do a flatter fur. So either, I'm assuming no, bands here, so I would either do seal or maybe...
Seal could be, yeah. Well,
seal
seal's
could be
always good.
Yes, seal's always good, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe a mink, but a flatter mink, or musquash or something like that. But not something like fox or raccoon, something like a lot of body to it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or not really, really long hair, because those can kind of cover over things as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my take on it.
I like it.
Your thoughts?
Well, so glad you asked. I was just kind of blue skying about this while you were talking. They're very old traditional sporn style. I don't remember if it has a name, but it's an oval closure, but it has a metal, almost a reinforcement more than a cantle, actually, just a metal strip across the top. And I don't remember if the style actually has a name. I know it's very popular with some of the traditional kilters, and I know it goes back to the 19th century. But I would do that, just a pewter metal strip across the top, so not really a true cantle, but a little bit of bling and reinforcement and definition. I would do a clan crest badge or similar ornament in the center of the targe.
Okay.
Okay.
Pick it up and put it down.
And maybe some extra studs in the design of the targe just to give it a little more bling. To basically make a de facto cantle out of various combination of elements that are, worked into the leather.
Okay.
And then I would do some extra braiding on the leaves, like the cuff of the leaf, make it a little more interesting, or maybe have the leaves a little larger and tool in some knot work onto the leaves themselves or something like that. I would still go with a very close nap fur, like you said. I wouldn't do a very foofy fur. I would just kind of ruin the feel, in my opinion.
So the cantle you're talking about is like on our thistle horsehair sporn, just a thin rim.
Yeah.
Along the top.
You still
okay?
see the military sporns, yeah. That's exactly where I'm getting the idea from.
The one thing I think you and I may be thinking differently on is the vision of the front. The leaves. Now, our hunting sport, there's basically 2 types of leaves that I've if I'm going to broaden it to two basic types of leaves.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that we have on our regular hunting sporrans, which are, they have like little braided ropes that push down to the leaf,
Yeah.
and then there's like a knotted ball of leather, and then the leaf kind of is a three-dimensional thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of like an arrowhead shape.
Correct.
Or a spearhead shape.
And then there's also some that are flat leaves. So think of a piece of leather. It's teardrop shaped, and then it has like two little offshoots of leather that kind of goes straight up, or two at an angle, not straight up. And that is just studded to the front of the sporran, so it's very flat, very two-dimensional, versus the ones on our hunting sporrans, which are more three-dimensional. The flat ones are typically the ones that you see on pipe band sporrans.
Right. I personally hate those.
I agree. When you were talking about embellishing the front of the leaf,
well, you could maybe that would bump it up and make it interesting enough to me that I'd like it. But I was imagining more like some of the work that people do with, like I said, make the leaf, the spearhead larger, and maybe the the ball at the top, make it more of a tight braided leather kind of thing. You know what? I'm just gonna do when we get to the clipping phase of this show, when we edit the show for the evergreen immortal version, I'll do a faux shop mock up.
Yeah.
We could do one of yours too. Show people what we're thinking.
Sure. I think I've seen a couple custom sporrans that have been done with the flat leaves that have had like embellishments or image laser etched images on the leaves. That's you're jacking the price way up from an aspect of it becomes like uber super duper extra special custom versus a standard one. But I don't know where I'm going with this. So
I came up with another bullshit story about this.
Jesus.
I won't do it. One is enough per show. But it's up there now.
Indeed.
It's up
Damn
there.
kids. Damn kids. All right, Mr. Ian.
So I'll start by reacting to your sporran idea there. I just wanted to say, Eric, you're enough of a stud. You don't need all the extra studs.
Thanks.
And as long as we're calling out edits for later,
Yeah.
I do want to see a version of your sporran with little Eric faces for the studs now.
You.
No, Eric
Gross.
faces for the leaves on the bottom of the sporran. Yes, that's gonna happen now.
In like a good like Gaelic knotwork art kind of style.
You
Yes.
realize if I do that, I will have to
zoomorphic
make
Eric.
one. I'll have to make one out of your face too.
Uh-oh.
So careful what you wish for.
Yeah, be careful not to have any bad screen grabs back there behind the camera today, Ian.
Oh yeah. You know what power we possess in the marketing department.
Fair enough. One person posed an interesting idea here. What do you guys think of like a bone cantle on a hunting
It'd be brittle.
sporran?
I'd be worried about being brittle. I could see maybe working with antler. I think some bone would be brittle. I dig the idea.
I've seen soapstone carved cantles, which
It's delicate.
oh super. Well, I don't know if it was soapstone, but it was like it was a carved stone cantle.
Oh yeah.
My
No, I hated
back
that
would
one.
kill me walking around with a stone sporran. So I wouldn't do it, but I've seen things like that. I would consider staghorn instead of the leaves.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Something
and I've
like
seen
that,
I've seen
or-
antler points used as
Yep.
as leaves on some design. That's pretty badass.
I've also seen was it polar bear or some kind of bear claw, bear claws kind of thing for the leaves on a hunting sporran.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
yeah.
As
yeah.
a piece of
I'm
as a
trying to
piece
imagine.
of
I'm
art.
trying to imagine bone or something as a cantle shape. Of course, now you got me thinking about like scrimshaw and pierced ivory or something
Yes,
like
how
that.
do I bend bone?
So that'd be with moisture.
I know.
But
I'm going into that.
But a scrimshaw, I'm imagining ivory or horn. Although I'd never work in ivory because that's evil.
Let's kill all the elephants, and
Yeah,
we're gonna
no,
make
we're not doing that.
tusk
But it could be
sporrans.
beautiful, But
Yeah. Beautifully deadly.
yeah.
All right, Ian.
Yes.
Throw another
So next
quick thing at
question.
us.
Yeah, next question. We've got one from Paul Dunstan on YouTube. He says, "My question is, were the 17th, 18th century great kilts scratchy like my grandfather's World War II blanket, or did the Highlanders have the fantastic quality I now relish?"
I don't think were 18th century great kilts scratchy, or were they a nice hard finish to it. I don't. You may know this more than me. Was there finishing for fabrics at that point?
I think there's always been some sort of finishing technology, but it was not like we think of finishing today.
Right.
So I would argue that it probably was scratchy.
Or in the grease, at least.
Yeah. I think it would definitely be in the grease, and honestly, you'd want it to be in the grease because that's part of the waterproofing of the garment. Remember, it's your all-purpose, all-weather thing. So the more grease you got in there, the better off you are.
For those who don't know what in the grease means, it is a piece of fabric. Let's start back at yarn. When you spin the yarn, you can wash it after it's spun to take some of the lanolin and the grease, essentially, out of the actual yarn, or you can leave it in. You can weave it and then wash it to take some of the lanolin and grease out of it, or leave it in. Or you can take it all out, weave it, finish it, and then put some back in. So there's different ways to finish things, but when we say in the grease, we mean fabric that has an amount of lanolin in it so that it is greasier feeling to the touch. But to your point exactly, it is more waterproof because it's oiled in the cloth.
Yep. A good handmade Aran sweater. If you pick it up, you can smell it. You
smell sheep.
Yeah, you smell sheep. So I would argue that probably was scratchier, but I am not a textile worker, so I will not. Don't quote me on it, but I would argue it probably was scratchier and
and it depends
definitely thicker.
And it depends on the type of sheep.
Yeah, and that was what went through my head because the other thing is different. The breeds of sheep that you have now are not the same that they had then.
Yep.
So most of the sheep now were imported by, surprise, the English. Back during the clearances. So.
And is it a Chibi cheap? Is it Romney? Is Romney?
I forget. It's my wife knows all this stuff, but I can never remember.
When you're talking back then, it's not a global economy like it is now. The vast majority, save Loch Heron, who are doing something a little cool, the vast majority of wool that is imported or that is used in the weaving of tartan cloth today is actually from New Zealand and Australia. It's down under, so to speak. Sorry, Ian. So the point is, it's a different climate, and different breeds of sheep, which lead to different hair, which leads to different fabrics in the end run. Versus a Romney or sheep that are like from the Hebrides, you need a hardier breed of animal to survive that type of climate. Therefore, their hair tends to be wirier and a little scratchier. So it's not quite as good of fabric for next to the skin purposes versus outerwear. Think of like a Harris tweed handbag or jacket or something like that. It's something you wear as an outerwear, or it's an accoutrement. It's not something that you're wearing close to your skin, sans underwear even, against your nether regions. I wouldn't want to wear that. So it really boils down to the type of sheep that was used back then, and I'm not educated on it enough to know the style of sheep, therefore the type of.
I know this information is right at our fingertips. If I could just go to a book right now, but the short answer is I think they were scratchier and a looser weave than what we're accustomed to with modern fabrics.
A little bit looser. I wouldn't necessarily say too much because even the looms back then. The loom, they're still forcing it down the shuttle. That once the shuttle goes across, they're still forcing it down to compact it. But it's definitely a
nubbier.
Sure,
maybe?
nubbier.
I don't know.
It's different. Yes, it's not the same as today. 100%. Even cloth from the 19. Like when we first started in the business, we were given cloth like, hey, can you make a kilt of this? It's cloth. It's been sitting in an old trunk in my house, cedar lined trunk. It's fine. It's my grandma bought it in 1972. Can you make a kilt from this? And even the hand and the feel of that cloth versus what is available today and with the cloth that we are making kilts from today is different, even over like 40, 50 years.
Wow.
And when you extrapolate that over a couple hundred years, it's got to feel different.
Interesting.
I would guess. we don't Google things while we're live on the show, obviously. So we're just off the cuff with the answers and using our own brains for the data bank. But it has to be different.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the answer.
For now.
For now, till we figure out the right answer.
To be
add it in later.
continued.
Yes, indeed. Or not, if we're right. We'll just leave it like it
Good
is.
question.
Yeah, I agree.
Good question.
Sir,
You want me to do that one?
I am game for whatever you want to do.
You want I should ask this question, right? Yeah. I know.
Now that you've pointed it out so much.
Bit of a brain teaser, that one is.
Right.
Right.
Cheerio.
Oi,
Pip,
bruv.
Cool.
Brain teaser.
That's my Captain Vimes impression, by the way.
You roll fur coat, no trousers, you all.
What? What the hell is that?
I was
Did you say
playing
you wearing
along.
full coat, no trousers you are?
You're all fur coat, no trousers,
Oh.
you all. Implying you're wearing a very fancy coat, but you're not actually rich, so you can't afford the pants.
I thought you meant I was like flashing
okay.
people. Like, hey,
Okay.
Rocky, put your kilt down.
No.
All coat, no trousers, that one.
nudge, wink, wink. Yeah.
Know what I mean?
See,
Know what
we'll
I mean?
pick on English accents, but we won't
Say
pick on
no.
Scottish accents.
I can't do a Scottish
I
accent.
can't either. So it was enjoyable having Sean here.
Lance can do a pretty
for
good
that
one.
last month. That was a
Yes.
good time.
Indeed.
All right, Richard Whittington, the one and only, wants to know very simply, why do you offer so few brown sporins? And this is a company-related question, so it's not the one which is why I asked if you wanted to do it, because it's about us.
Yeah.
But that being said, go ahead, give the answer. Go ahead.
All right, fine. Go
fine.
ahead. Brown sporins are tricky. The real reason why I'm nervous to have always been nervous to add too many different types of brown sporins is because I come from the matchy school, where getting the belt to match the sporin to match the gillybrogues is crazy difficult, especially when you're dealing with 2 or 3 different vendors. For instance, our brown belts that we actually have those custom dyed leather sent to our sporin maker to match the gillybrogues that we have made by somebody else completely. So it's brown is a tricky one. If you are the type of person who needs to match all of the browns, then good luck, or you're stuck with this and that's it. If you're the type of person who doesn't care and it's just brown is brown is brown, I don't care if it's chocolate or tan or whatever, then fine. There's a little it's difficult for Americans to kind of wrap their heads around that. That said, if there's we kind of been toying around with the idea in general. Should we offer more brown sporins? Because we just started doing the Edinburgh Day Sporn, which is like a chocolate brown meant to look like now King Charles. It's still weird saying King Charles versus Prince Charles. We're doing that sporn that matches his, and we have an Edinburgh hunting sporn in a chocolate brown that kind of is a similar vibe to his. So we have like 2 shades of brown, a tan and a chocolate brown, and then we have black, because black is black is black. Black is going to match anything. You don't have to worry about it ever, as far as leather stuff from us at least. But let me know, is there a particular sporin that you're like, I wish this one was available in brown or tan? Because there's like a light brown or dark brown. So here, let's use this as a focus group.
Okay.
Is there a particular sporin you see on our website that you want to see in dark brown or tannish, lighter brown, and which sporin is it and in which color is it you want to see?
Sure.
Yeah, there's no reason other than I don't want to carry 897 different sporins, and that's a large capital investment in something that's not necessarily cheap. But all right, let's warp the question, Eric. What sporin do you want to see in brown?
In brown?
In brown, that we either that we have or some fantastical sporin you want to see.
Pass. I don't know. I mean, it's because
Like
I tend to go more with black. So but yeah, I mean, something like this kind of hybrid would be fun.
Would you do a brown semi-dress?
I think a brown semi-dress could be good. With like a we don't do the raccoon pelt anymore,
No.
right?
We can
You know
get
what I mean?
it, but yeah.
Like a brown musquash or a
Okay.
You know what I mean? Or a not badger, but
I could see a brown musquash or a
yeah.
brown fox. I could see something like
Yeah.
that with a
Yeah, I
brown
think that
flap.
could work.
Okay.
yeah, something like.
Ian will bring you in for this as well.
But I can't believe you guys took so long. I'm a brown guy. I always wear brown.
You're a brown guy. Is that
Yeah.
racist? I think you're racist. No,
Rocky
it's not.
Rager doesn't care about brown sporns. No. So
Not to make light of it,
Yeah.
but yes.
I would say the hunting sporn. I have a brown hunting sporn, and people
Mm-hmm.
ask me about it pretty regularly if I post a photo wearing it. So I wish
Is
we
it
had
chocolate brown?
Not the lighter
no, it was a
tan.
lighter brown.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
was
it's
it
more
was
of a
custom dyed at
champagne.
the time.
Yeah.
It's not the tan
It was to
either.
match one of your belts, I think, right?
No, I just something I liked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah,
forgetting.
but even if whatever brown, I think a hunting sporn, especially because hunting sporns, I think look so good in brown.
Yeah, I
They
agree.
go with the hunting kind of vibe.
I don't disagree with that at all.
I think the Craigmore.
And they're more traditional.
Yeah, I think the Craigmore Day sporn, but it also does harken to the hunting style. Would look great in brown.
That's
too.
the one that Eric normally wears with
Yeah.
the leaves on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah, but I represent the problem for Rocky. I'm the bane of Rocky's
You
existence.
represented a lot of
so many
Rocky's
ways.
problems.
In that I want brown things. I want more of them, but they're not always they're not quite the brown that I want.
And therein lies
Yeah.
my trepidation.
I have the two-tone belt that we used to carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't any
I like
longer.
that
Don't
belt.
ask me for it. I can't get it. And we now have a brown belt, and I'm not as fan of that shade. So
Yeah,
people
I
like
agree.
me are the problem. If you're like me, you're part of the problem.
It's you. Yeah.
So
I think
yeah.
a brown black two-tone hunting sporn could be pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, not to be too salesy about it, right now we have a couple of the brown and black semi-dress sporns that came in with this beautiful brown pelt.
Like
that
dark brown.
Dark
Yeah.
brown. It looks
Okay.
nothing like the image on our website. If you look on the website, it doesn't look like that. They're more gray, and that is how they normally come in. But so they're not typical for what we carry. If you're a brown sporn person, they're beautiful.
And now Jillian is cringing because she's going to be taking all the phone calls.
Yeah. Can you send me a
So-
picture of
we-
that?
Can you send me a picture of the sporn that Ian was talking
We
about?
have a few. There's like 5 or 6 of them, something like that. They're
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I want one, but I don't need more brown sporns.
The one that if Adam is still listening out there, it's in my office on the side table. Go grab that and bring it in. There's a brown sporn that I had. I had it custom made with our logo, like the lion logo.
Yeah.
With one lion facing that way, one lion head facing
Yeah.
that way. And I think it's just like regular, like knotted tassels.
And you
That
have worn
one,
it on the
there's
show.
I've worn it a few times, not a ton, but the times I've worn it, like I'm not. I never feel like people want like my branding of my company kind of thing. I realize some people probably do, but it's a weird one. I've worn it a few times. I did it for myself and only really for myself, but it's one that I would. Every time I wear it, we get some comments about it, so I would consider doing something like that.
Maybe.
It's a tannish one. Maybe. Oh, he was listening. Look at him. We have a guest star on the show.
Don't throw it. Okay.
This is the one I'm talking about there. It just has our logo right and left. And this is not meant to be a product heavy episode, so I apologize.
Yeah, this is kind of
But
odd.
this is what I'm talking about by tan as an example versus a chocolate brown kind of color. So let us know if something like, should we just go to the drawing board with the brown sporn in general? Is there a design that we currently have that you're like, yes, that thing but brown, or that thing but tan? Or should we do something like this?
And it's a laser
Yeah.
cut
Yep.
with the designs. Yeah.
Super fancy. I love it. This is my favorite other. This is my secondary sporn. It's this one 98% of the time, and this one is my other one that I go to.
Yeah.
So, all right. Enough product placement. Next. Who
More
was
than
that?
enough.
That was you?
Oh, that was me.
All right. Ian.
Okay, so
And
Oh, and Matt had something. No, he didn't. I'm confused. Ian, go ahead. It's you.
It's ambassador time.
I will share a question from YouTube.
Right,
from-
but before we share that question,
oh,
you're going to throw to our Kilt Ambassador of the Month.
Our ambassador, Brad Wilson, originally went to school to become an English teacher, but ended up in business and music. To pay the bills, he does design work for an apparel decoration company and manages the online stores that they operate for organizations and sports teams all over the country. Brad's family traces their roots back to Scotland, with the Wilsons being a sept of Clan Gunn. Brad himself is a piper, and he performs at local events and festivals and parades. He even pipes for a local school football team, the McGuffey Highlanders, and he pipes them onto the field every year. An active Civil War reenactor, Brad portrays a soldier of the 140th Pennsylvania Company A unit that was actually founded in his hometown. Now, Brad is clearly a spiffing fellow who is fully enjoying his heritage, but that's actually not the main reason we asked him to be an ambassador. You see, Brad also has a really big heart. He designed and got woven a unique tartan named Continue. This pattern is dedicated to suicide awareness. It basically goes like this. In the spring of 2021, Brad participated in a design tartan contest, basically, just for fun. Then that summer, a few events took place that pushed Brad's interest into creating something with a bit more meaning behind it. He explains, "In the last few years, I have had several friends go through some very dark times, and others who have taken permanent steps to leave that darkness. That spurred me to create the initial designs. I wanted to share some small reminder that there's still hope in the world, things worth sticking around for, even in the darkest times." Brad toyed around with a few different variations, but eventually he shelved the project. However, in 2022, the same design contest happened again, and Brad made some revisions and submitted the design, and this time he won first place. The Continue tartan, described as dedicated to those who fight the invisible battle every day, holds a lot of symbolism in its threads. Two of the primary colors are teal and purple, colors typically used in the suicide awareness ribbon. The white stripes that cut through the black are a reminder of how there can still be hope even in the darkest of times. And Brad also added some very personal metaphors for himself. He explains, "One section is modeled after the eye of a peacock feather, which is a tribute to my wife and I. We have both dealt with times when we could have used a reminder like this." Coincidentally, the green stripe included as part of the peacock eye is also the color typically used for the mental health awareness ribbon. So after the contest win, Brad set up a Facebook group to share updates on the tartan. Several people opted in to help get it woven and to have kilts made. In the future, Brad hopes the Continue tartan will gain popularity, and in doing so, offer comfort to many people. And he's hoping the tartan cloth can be used in some non-kilt items as well, like flight tag keychains, small home decorations, and other forms of clothing. In the meantime, he is tinkering around with a weathered version of the tartan. He says, "I am hoping to have it in more hands as a little piece of hope people can have whenever they might need it. I want to remind as many people as possible that even in the darkest of nights, there will always be a sunrise. It might seem far away, but you'll never get to see it if you leave now." And for my own part, I feel it would be hard to find a more honorable or more loving cause to create a tartan for. So we here at USA Kilts wish Brad all the success in the world. To learn more, check out the Continue Tartan group on Facebook. You can also say hi to Brad on the Kilts and Culture Facebook group. And please keep this in mind. If you or someone you love is in crisis, you can dial 988 to reach the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's staffed 24/7, it's free, it's confidential. Trained crisis response professionals can support individuals considering suicide, self-harm, or any behavioral or mental health need. That's for themselves or for people seeking help for a loved one. They can even put you in touch with local resources as well as the Veterans Crisis Line. Spread the word, folks, please. Yep. That was a long one. But I wanted to make sure we got the full message across of what Brad is up to. So, like I said in the video, I think this is one of the most honorable causes I've heard have a tartan dedicated to it. So, Brad, thank you very much for sharing, and thank you for thinking of what people need in such a compassionate way. So,
indeed.
Cheers.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
All right, Mr. Ian, now that we are...
Before I share the next question, I want to share Greg Lyon's comment over on Facebook. He perfectly summarized your opinions on sporins. He said, "Sporins, you can get them in any color you want, so long as you want black."
Yes, indeed. That's the Ford quote. Yes, absolutely love it. Yeah, I love brown too. There's absolutely a place for brown.
Mm-hmm.
I do love brown.
All right, to get into the next question, though, C.R. Nordland McDougall on YouTube says, "V-neck sweater with a kilt. If yes, should it be color paired with the hose?
V-neck sweater with a kilt.
There are lots of sweaters that have a V-neck opening, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, no, maybe. The
No shirt underneath though.
Oh.
Little
And a
chest
gold
hair
chain.
poking out. Yes.
yeah.
Gold chain. Little chest hair.
Then you have to tone the chest hair to the hose.
And of
So-
course, you have to pair all of this with an Italian-American tartan.
I was
that's
going to go
rude.
there. I was going to go there, but I decided not to.
You have Italian relatives, so you're.
I
allowed-
do, I do.
But
Hey, what's the matter, you? Why are you doing that?
we typically go with. Please excuse my colleagues. We typically will advise a top-bottom color symmetry if you're not sure what else to do to bring an outfit together. So yeah, you could do that, but you could just as easily have the sweater be similar in tone to a color in the tartan, or it could be if it's a natural, like a neutral, like a gray or a black or a charcoal or an ecru, aka sheep color. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it. It kind of stands on its own. But if it's colored, then I would definitely try and give it a some similarity to either a tartan color or a hose color. The exception, of course, being Fair Isle sweaters. Nobody gives a damn about the colors in those. They just wear them usually, and it's just like all this color going across your chest.
Awesome designs, very, very intricate, but
and extremely traditional, but
Yes.
busy. And sometimes they tone with a tartan, sometimes they don't. People just wear them. So
would there
I would
be
say,
a V-neck Fair Isle sweater though?
yeah, they usually
probably
are because
exists.
they're more often sweater vests than long sleeve. I think it's the ones I see guys wearing with kilt.
I'm thinking like traditional Fair Isle, which is high collar, or not high, but regular crew collar and down to sleeve.
Somebody Google this.
There's both. There's both.
Yeah.
Like a Fair Isle sweater to keep you warm in the Orkneys, versus
the
a
vests.
sweater vest. Yeah, got
It's
it.
usually the vest.
Now he's talking. This gent was talking about a V-neck sweater.
Yeah, so I think he's thinking just a.
Sweater versus sweater vest. So I'm still on sweater.
I have a couple of V-neck military sweaters that I wear, and one's blue because I came from Israel. I think it's like a sky blue, and it goes with a couple of my kilts, and then the others are just olive drab. So don't worry about it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of V-neck in general. So I don't know why. I just can't get behind V-necks.
It's because you don't wear ties very often.
That's true. That's true. If I did wear ties and didn't want to just show off the chest hair,
Yeah.
then
Yep.
then maybe a V-neck for me. That, I kind of want to do a Photoshop of me in a V-neck sweater with
Why
chest hair.
Photoshop it when
Why
you do a photo
Photoshop?
shoot?
Yeah. I'm gonna borrow one of your V-neck sweater vests.
Oh no, you're not. The hell you say?
I think there's some here somewhere. I might have to just go steal it.
Nope. No, they're all home right now.
Get some like Mr. T gold chains and the chest hair. Yep, coming out like Cthulhu with the fucking arm, with the arms. I didn't just curse. It's fine.
Family
Worst
show,
show
Rocky.
ever.
Family show.
Worst show ever.
We'll edit it.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of family shows, though,
Speaking of Cthulhu,
this is Cthulhu is family, but no, I've been wanting to. I'm going to tease you guys and just get a straw poll going with all yous out there. I want to do a show for the kids at some point where we do a Q&A where we invite questions from the younger set, or you parents talk to your kids and present us a question that they asked you about kilts and Celtic lifestyle and all that kind of stuff, and do a show where it's specifically aimed at kids and answering their questions and getting their opinions. So if people are interested in that, please comment and let us know. Not necessarily here because this comment stream will go away, I think, but send, let us know one way or
it doesn't
another.
go away. I'll still be there.
Yeah. I'm just curious if people would, speaking as a parent, I thought other parents might be interested in something like that.
I agree. My brain immediately goes to the why kids say the darndest things
Kinda.
type comments.
Yeah.
So now I'm I'm curious and scared.
I think
What
some
will
of the questions that kids ask could be exactly the same that adults ask when they're new to this stuff.
Fair.
For all I know, but I'm curious because I don't really know. So there you go.
Yes, we don't know. We have no idea. All right. Was that Ian or you?
That was Ian.
All right.
All right. Lax in Philly.
Not laxatives.
No, Lax in Philly. So I'm guessing somebody in Philadelphia. So, when I'm going to be on my feet all day, I usually opt for sneakers to wear with my kilt, but it looks a little ridiculous with the thickness of the kilt hose that I have. I feel they make my feet look like they're swollen. Does the material of the kilt hose matter when it comes to the thickness?
Okay.
He also wanted to say thank you for the Hunting McNichol kilt that he got from us. So
Actually, did he name the kilt maker or no?
he did not.
I was going to give a shout out, but no. Okay.
He says it was incredible, and I can't thank you enough.
Okay.
So.
Excellent. Thank you. So for kilt hose, I'm assuming if he's wearing kilt hose, the most of the kilt hose that are readily available are a little bit thicker than like cotton crew socks. They're not necessarily super dense, super thick. So if the only ones that I've ever had that have been that thick that I felt like my feet looked fat, or my shoes were tight or whatever, would be like a pair of hand knit hose. So maybe like cable hand knit hose kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I'll let you start. It's
Moi? Okay. Well, I'll say. I do think that the thicker hose tend to be the better looking ones, and better quality. Usually, there's more heft to them, and they just look better. I would argue that probably you are more sensitive to how your feet are looking than other people are. They're probably not noticing it nearly as much as you are. I do sometimes with some shoes find that my kilt hose just make everything feel snug, and just kind of mushed in, like tight inside the shoe.
compacted, like
yeah.
diabetic socks.
So
or something.
so I don't know if sometimes I get where he's coming from that standpoint. So I'd sooner consider other shoes that would be more flattering, perhaps. Anyway, for when I'm going to be on my feet all day, I wear police patrol boots because it's basically a sneaker with a high cuff, which I think looks better with a kilt. That may not be your jam. If you're talking about like work sneakers, which are basically all black, like a lot of people in service industries and other standing around type jobs wear, that can be more subtle looking, so it's not going to be obvious from that standpoint either. Then alternately, if you really love the shoes you're using, maybe go with a very thin kilt hose option like the cotton hose. So
or standard kilt hose versus something so thick.
well, I don't know. If he thinks it's standard hose, I don't know what type hose he got.
Yeah.
So,
I will.
What's got? I can talk.
What's got him?
What's got his hose? Philly.
I will also kind of say this. Personally, I wouldn't wear kilt hose with sneakers. I'll kind of just put that out there.
Yeah.
I wear sneakers with a kilt. I'm wearing sneakers with a kilt right now, but I'm wearing a polo, like casual type shirt, and a pair of like cotton crew socks that are like halfway up the calf, or at least above the ankle, and a pair of plain black sneakers. That is my typical day in, day out wear. If I'm gonna wear a pair of kilt hose, I don't feel like they match or do well with sneakers. I could see them with, wingtips or something like that. You can see them with Gillibrogues, obviously. I could see them with a pair of boots. I feel like it goes better than with sneakers. I don't know. Sneakers
I think
to
the
me
boots work better. But.
Yeah, I think the boots definitely work better with kilt hose than sneakers do. I wouldn't do it. If I'm gonna wear thick hose and I want to be comfortable, kind of to your point, like patrol boots or something like that. Yeah. Or if you're uncomfortable in a pair of Gillibrogues or dress shoes, maybe look at getting a different insert for the shoe, or a different sole for inside the shoe. Not sole, but insert for inside the shoe. There's a degree of suffering for your art, to some degree. So like when we did Celtic Classic this past year, I had on a tweed vest. We ran around all day recording. We did an on-stage thing, a Q&A show in front of a studio audience, and I wanted it to look nice. So I had on, what's it called? Kilt hose and a vest but I also had on ghillie brogues. Or not ghillie brogues, but wingtips. Yeah. So it was not the most comfortable thing, but I was going for an aesthetic more than comfort necessarily. It's not always my choice. By far, it's not always my choice. But I went for it on the day. Now, if it was this type of outfit, sneakers would be fine, but I wouldn't pair kilt hose with it necessarily.
Maybe his legs are cold.
Yeah, but in that case, I think there would be potentially better footwear options, i.e., boots or something like that, than sneakers.
I just find a lot of sneaker designs these days kind of look bulbous anyway, because they do a lot of padding and how they construct the uppers. I just don't like the shape of them.
It depends on the type of shoe.
It totally depends on the type of shoe.
Yeah.
So I'd say there's one or two different ways to address the problem, but I might say consider a nice boot that has some ankle support and putting inserts in it instead of the sneakers.
Yeah, or a different casual. Yeah, maybe a different casual shoe. Yeah.
Yep.
Indeed. All right, Ian.
Yes.
How you doing there, pal?
I'm very good. And yourself?
Lovely. Happy to see you're awake.
Oh, yeah. Just totally not falling asleep over here. Listening to you two talk.
Wow.
Wife says it's okay.
So we've got a question here from Facebook from Tim Andrew Murray. He says, why is it when movies or TV shows show Highland culture, it's always browns and grays, when in history there was many other colors like red, blue, and yellow?
The reason that yes, 100% correct. Why does Hollywood, I'll just say Hollywood in general, think that only blues and grays were worn a few hundred years ago, a couple hundred years ago? Because they're playing into a sense of aesthetic that people have. They're playing into a BS notion that no color existed back then. It's all colors, a recent invention of the 1920s.
Came in after the talkies. Yeah,
indeed. Charlie Chaplin. So it's one of those things where they're playing into, I want to say a stereotype, but a stereotype of the medieval ages or Victorian ages and that kind of thing. Yeah. And they didn't, even though it's you're right, it's not true. Why did they do it? Because that's what the audience wants. That's what the audience expects. It's wrong. They're lying. They could correct the misnomer by showing different things, but they don't want to, because then they're fighting, they're pushing against the tide versus just like it's I almost want to say that you're not breaking the fourth wall is the wrong word, but you're pulling people's brains out of the thing. If they saw Bonnie Prince Charlie in a film or Jamie Fraser in Outlander walking around in bright colors, as he probably would have, then it's like, wait, that doesn't fit with what my preconceived notions think of this time period to have in clothing. Right. So you're breaking it, and you're saying in your own brain, that's wrong, or the average person is saying, that's wrong, that shouldn't be like that, and you're taking them out of the moment. But if you play into their prejudices that, oh, it's all drab, it's all muddy, it's all BS, it's all gray way back then you're not taking them out of the moment, and you're allowing the fantasy of the film to live. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different reasons now, actually, but you just made me think of a different angle on it. Yeah, Hollywood is, for the record, I think that Hollywood is getting a lot better at historical representation. The past 10, 15 years has seen a really good escalation in accuracy and authenticity. Mac and I were just comparing notes on All Quiet on the Western Front. And
good
he
movie.
was saying how it's rough, man, but it's real. But we were talking about the clothing. He was saying like some of his reenactor buddies was like, "Wow, that button is wrong" or whatever. Some details. But you know what? That's a far cry from how bad things were back in the day, where it's like, "Well, this is a World War II uniform. Just throw some different decorations on it. It'll be fine." And the material culture represented in that movie, from my perspective as a social historian, not history buff. Was really good. So Hollywood is getting better, but yeah, there's the old cliche that if it was in the past, it was drab, it was dirty, all the lighting was torches inside for some reason, like pitch torches in your castle, and all these horrible cliches. which are wrong. There's a classic cartoon where it shows a movie set, okay, and the top picture is like a street in Rome, and there's all this beautiful color, and all the statues are colored and everything, and then the director says, "That looks great, looks great. Okay, apply the antiquity filter," and this guy comes out and throws white paint on everything, you know, because like, okay, great, shoot. But I think there's another reason. In our modern sensibilities, we think bright color, we associate bright colors and lots of colors with either femininity or lack of seriousness. So you can't have a hero in bright colored, many colored outfits because it doesn't look serious. I mean, you think about all the gritty comic book movies they have now. It's like they make them darker and drabber and more monochrome because it looks more serious, you know, as opposed to like the bright, crazy colors you'd have in comic books in like the 60s through the 80s. There's a reason why they make the joke about Wolverine. You know, he makes the one joke in the X-Men movie about how, you know, why don't you just wear, you know, gold and bright blue instead, you know, because they're poking fun at the old X-Men costumes, which are all these ridiculously bright colors.
Yellow and blue, yeah.
Exactly. So it's just like, we think bright colors mean not serious. So we tend to go for drab for that reason also. You'll notice, like, in Outlander, Prince Charlie is in it, and he is, of course, they make him kind of foppish, and he's got, you know, brightly colored tartan on and his blue sash and the wig and all that kind of stuff, and he is one of the more colorful people characters in the episodes, but he's also the one you're not supposed to respect as much. If they wanted him to be a hero, they would probably dress down his costume. You see where I'm coming with this? See where I'm going with this?
I do. I don't know how much I agree, but I see the angle you're taking. Yes.
Yeah. I think there are different reasons why there's been the problem with the media all along. I think it's changed a little bit. You know, you still have issues where everything in a film is really, really accurate, except for like the leading lady's hairstyle. Or the fact that she's wearing freaking makeup, you know, because she has to appeal to a set expectation of the audience.
Yes,
like you were talking about.
But that is also the problem with creating, with commercialism. I'm going to get a little broad here. Commercialism versus accuracy. It's your movie still, or piece still has to make money. It still has to be. It has to be a broader audience, and it has to play to certain stereotypes and certain things that you believe to be true, and play into that, versus being historically accurate 100% because it's not a good story. You know, with Braveheart, William Wallace and the Queen, she would have been 3 or whatever at the time.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where they have to play it up for the story's sake because it makes a better story. It's the marketing of history versus actual history because the story is more interesting than the fact. So what do you want? Do you want a better story, or do you want or more factual data?
I'm a nerd. I want the factual story. Sorry.
Watch the documentary.
But if it's a fantasy, call it a fantasy. I mean, like,
but that doesn't sell as many commercials.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, true. But I love the movie 13th Warrior, but there's nothing accurate about that movie. Nothing. But it's a fun movie. It's a romp. But
call it what it is.
Yeah, call it what it is. But I think that's a really good point of discussion we could go on and on about. But I think the classic reason was that the assumption was that color, like you said, color's a modern thing. They didn't have color back then. They were primitives. They weren't civilized like us now.
They didn't have Lily Pulitzer dresses,
right.
and neon colors from the 80s, but they had color, I promise.
Yeah, they had a lot of color. But yeah, I think it's also added to, I think it's like, heroes are supposed to be dark and earthy and brooding. No frills and, just like, I'm too serious for color. So
I'm Batman.
Where is she? That's my Batman impression.
Yes. All right. Who was that?
Joker. Perfect example. He's a villain. And he's bright colored. Right?
Damn Jokers. Why
so
serious? Yes, indeed.
Good.
Eric does a pretty good Joker face.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Oh, but my impression's bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the face, the high cheekbones, yes.
Okay.
I'll slice you open. It's fine. All right.
I come from a long line of psychotics.
Exactly. Don't we all?
Shadow Sniper 9513 says, Hey, little sister is getting married this fall in South Alabama, basically Florida. I was told that she would be very disappointed if I did not wear my kilt. But what should I do to not be overdressed or underdressed for the event? For context, neither Prince Charlie nor tweed is going to be expected. Most of the guys, sans the wedding party, will probably be in polo shirts. I am 90% sure the wedding will be outdoors in August or maybe October timeframe. So it's going to be hot, humid, outdoors. Wedding party is not going to be formal,
Okay.
but nice. And I'm guessing from the way he phrased that, he's probably a guest, not in the wedding party. But we could answer this from both angles. Like if you're invited to a casual wedding, to be in the wedding party versus just a guest.
Okay. So business cash, kind of like, like this type garb.
Right.
I wouldn't wear a polo. I would go slightly a step up. A couple reasons. One, it's better to be overdressed than underdressed. Two, if I was wearing a polo, I wouldn't necessarily wear kilt hose, and I would feel underdressed at that point if there's guys in, like, let's say khakis and a polo, and you have bare legs and like cotton crew socks. So for me personally, casual outdoor, not stuffy type wedding in the South in summer, early fall kind of thing. I would go, let's say, short sleeve Oxford shirt. If I'm going to go British, Ben Sherman. Little notches on the sleeve there.
There you go.
But a short sleeve Oxford shirt, no tie. I'm not a tie guy in
No, I don't
general,
think you
but
need a tie.
no tie, especially if there's polos. And then I would wear a kilt, Daysporin, kilt hose, and flashes.
Yeah.
And a pair of wingtips or something like that.
I would consider, if it's not too hot, I might consider throwing a vest on.
Not with a short sleeve shirt.
No, long sleeve shirt with a vest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
That's a nice casual, but not sloppy looking.
right,
way
but
to
not
dress.
stuffy either.
Yeah, not stuffy, not sloppy. I think it hits the sweet spot. If you're going to have guys in khakis and polos, I think that hits the sweet spot for kilt wear.
Yeah.
Ian, what would you wear for that?
Brown.
A fig leaf.
What is it with the sex jokes every time
I
he's
don't
on the
know.
show?
A V-neck sweater with no shirt underneath.
And a fig leaf.
And a fig leaf, obviously.
I'm sorry.
Or just a sporn.
Ian, answer the question.
I honestly, I'd probably go the polo shirt, the one Rocky's
Really?
wearing right now. Would
To a
look
wedding.
great.
Would you
With
wear
a
kilt
kilt.
hose with it?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it depends on how hot the actual weather is going to be on the day. I'd probably make that decision on the day or very close to the day,
Okay. That's
potentially.
Hmm.
Potentially.
Interesting.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there you have it.
Yeah, I wouldn't do the polo personally, but
A
I like your
shallow
idea.
breadth of answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But context is king. I think you're on the right path by commenting on what you're pretty sure other people are going to be wearing.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna look fancy to the casual observer simply because you're wearing a kilt, as we often say.
Yep.
So you don't really need much else. Keep it cash but clean.
Totes.
Yeah.
Totes cash, yo.
Yep.
Indeed. Ian.
Before we get to the next question, I did need to circle back to the previous topic with a great comment we had from Obi Sean. People learning history from Hollyweird is how we get Skeen-Doo blood right teachings. It's too good to pass up.
Oh yeah.
So for a new question though,
I in my defense, I always come up with those stories just to amuse myself, and occasionally use them to point out the fact that you should never rely on hearsay or what Grandpa told you, or Wikipedia, or one single source on the web.
Yes.
You should always check your sources and read a damn book.
Yes. He is too good at
yes.
at BS explanations of things. He wanted to actually do content pieces of these jokes just to see what would happen, and I was like, no.
It's gonna be like true or false.
People would believe it.
See if you can tell if this is a true story or not, because sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. And I thought it'd be fun to present the story and then have either a ding or and then say, no, actually, this is a myth because of this, this, and this. Or I thought it'd be fun, but he's afraid that people only watch the first half and think I was telling the truth.
Believe BS and think that we said it. We need the Riker is factors. No, that's
Yeah.
When my hair was shorter, I got confused for Riker a lot.
We'll just call it blood grooves.
Back when you were doing that, Carl R. had asked, "Where are my hip waders?" It's getting deep in here.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
You should be here on a daily basis.
I invented another one with the sporins, but like I said, I'm not gonna.
All right, Ian. Before he
gets into the next one,
before I give you the temptation.
D King over on YouTube has asked, "Would kilt vests work with vintage or high-rise pants as well?"
Yeah, sure. I don't think it'd be quite the silhouette you want. It'll look a little bit comical, but it would. Like if you have a pair of like fishtail trews, for instance, or if you have high-rise, pre-mid 20th century, but more early 20th to 19th century trousers, which are meant to be used braces to keep them up.
Or if you live in Florida, you wear your pants up around your nipples. Those vests would work.
Insert clip of the "Hike Your Pants Up" song from MST3K here.
May actually look better. Cover up some of the pants.
You could get away with it. I mean, if you're trying to get double duty out of a kilt vest you have because you're planning on wearing it with some sort of vintage outfit or something, I think you could. If it's going to look a little bit off, but a lot of people won't know the difference.
Yeah.
And I have this vision of like either 1930s newspaper cartoons or cartoon characters or something where the torso is really short and the legs are really long, and you might kind of have a weird vibe like that going if you don't do it right, but probably get away with it.
As long the biggest concern is making sure there's no white shirt or shirt gap between the top of the pants and the bottom of the vest. It's the reason why. Not the reason why, but kilts are cut higher. You wear kilts higher on your waist, and that's why kilt jackets are cut shorter, like the Prince Charlie, because you're meeting the top of the kilt. You're just overlapping a little bit of the top of the kilt. And the problem that guys who wear their kilts low end up having is that the jacket does not meet the top of the kilt, so you have this white shirt gap above the kilt and the bottom, between the kilt and the bottom of the jacket. So as long as you don't have that weird gap or it's very, very minimal, I don't see it as a problem.
And frankly, the with Saxon dress, the reverse is true. That's why, pre-1940s suits look better, because the pants were designed to be high enough so you wouldn't have that gapping problem. So a three-piece suit, which was designed to be a true three-piece suit, looks better because of the height of the pants.
Yep.
Yeah. Once you're trying to split the difference and have something, you could wear it with a vest or without, Mr. 1960s executive person, then you have the problems result. So anyway, tangent. We're here to talk about kilts. So give it a shot.
Now I want to talk about zoot suits and or MC Hammer pants.
Right.
Zoo suits are awesome.
Yes.
Pachuco culture in general is fascinating too. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Indeed. And long wallet chains.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Insert swing clip here from Cherry Papa Daddies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. Who was that? Was that
me.
you?
That was him. So
that was him.
It's my turn.
Eric.
I got news for you. We're not getting through all these questions today.
No, we're not.
Okay.
We're rabbit holing.
This one's going to take a while, but this is a good one. Okay.
Sorry in advance.
Daniel Rickle, 8807, asks a very simple but loaded question. Why do some people refuse to accept kilts as a man's garment?
That's a good question. Why do people refuse to accept a kilt as a man's garment?
We're not saying have difficulty getting used to or anything, but just out and out refuse, like denied.
I would say our audience is mostly, diaspora, so he's either in Australia, U.S., Canada, something like that. In areas where you grow up and it's a kilt or an unbifurcated garment isn't part of the norm for male dress, you're stuck with that preconceived notion. So if you grew up in Scotland, people would be like, just understand, it's a kilt. It's for men, period. It's not a problem. But growing up in the U.S., it's not the norm. People have a need psychologically for things to make sense, for there to be order. And what people end up doing is they have little boxes for everything. Some people's boxes are bigger, some people's boxes are smaller, but everything must fit into a box. And that box sometimes can overflow, sometimes it can't, depending on the person. So if I am a narrow-minded person, my understanding of what a man is allowed to wear fits into a smaller box versus somebody who is more open-minded, free-spirited, whatever you want to call it, and will allow for different modes of dress. So it really boils down to the individual, their preconceived notions, and how narrow-minded they are or are not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
the size of their box.
And I will not say that it could. We're not trying to accuse people of being jerks per se, with that turn of phrase. I would say, you could, but for some people, it's I think it's a fear factor. I think it's especially if they're very much invested in a mode of thinking with how they are raised, and if they are order, they prefer orderly things, or they are change averse for whatever reasons, then it represents something that's outside the norm and therefore is potentially scary.
It's different, so it's scary. Yes.
Yeah, they don't know how to react to it. They're not sure what it means. It's a cognitive dissonance kind of a thing. So, and sometimes with some people, in some groups, it's simply a maturity thing. There's a lack of rational thought involved. Where it's just like it's different, therefore it's something to be made fun of, and I will be reinforced by my peers and have greater acceptance and respect among my peers if I mock this thing which is from outside my culture.
There's also an element.
So it's a tribalism in a way too.
I was just about to say groupthink. There's an element of groupthink.
Yeah.
Where, hey, if I make fun of this thing, or if my friend makes fun of this thing, even if I'm not as averse to the thing,
right,
I should make fun of the thing too, because it's different than what we do, and he's making fun of it, and I'm on his team, so I want to be the same as him. It also depends on, do you know the person versus not know the person? Is it your wife who is, objecting to the thing? That's a different psychological reason potentially, because then what are the neighbors going to think? Versus, is it an errant load of truckload of kids driving past at 90 miles an hour saying, nice skirt? So it's different people and different opinions, different situations. So it's a much, much broader question than he may actually have even realized.
Yeah, but it's all on the same spectrum of suck. There's a continuity of stupid, if you will.
If there's one thing this world is not lacking for, it's stupid.
Yep. But yeah, I mean,
that's
the way it is, man.
You have something you want to add, Mr. Ian?
I'd say conformity is a powerful drug, and it affects some people more than others. Some people really see the need to conform. We're all the same. We do the same. We wear the same. We have our hairstyles the same. And you're weird if you don't do the thing that we all do. So, but that can manifest in large ways or small ways. I know sometimes we'll have somebody in the store, and this isn't common at all. People are usually coming at it from a different angle, but with some regularity, I'll get the question, they're in for a kilt. So they're not the person that's like, oh, kilts are not for men.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll be like, well, what's the most popular tartan? I'll get that one.
Yeah.
Well,
I see what you mean.
That's a weird way to think of it. It's not hateful or that kind of not putting things in a box, but it is a conformity.
They want
kind
the
of
safety.
Yeah,
Or-
the safety.
Yeah.
Or the other one that we often get in the store is, would you like modern or weathered or muted or ancient? What's the darkest one? I'll take the darkest color tartan so I can blend in.
Or people say, what's the most traditional one? To that question,
Yeah.
too.
Yes. Yeah, the most. I think,
Which is a tricky one to answer.
Yep.
Because it's not as clear as they want it to be.
Yeah. I would do this. I would take the question that was asked and kind of flip it on its head and ask a question to the questioner. What does it matter? Who cares that other people have an issue with the way that you dress, or with you wearing a kilt, or dyeing your hair blue or whatever? If they are not directly in your sphere of friends and family, who cares? It literally doesn't matter. The sooner, and I literally tell this to my 8-year-old, 9-year-old, the sooner you can get it through your brain, and it's difficult to explain to a 9-year-old, the sooner you can get it through your brain that other people's opinions of you do not matter nearly as much as your own opinion of yourself and what you want to do with your life, the sooner you will be happy. It's when you are so concerned what this person's going to say about you or what that kid's going to say about you or whatever, it's you're caught up in that vicious cycle. But the sooner you say, you know what, F it all, I'm going to do me, I'm going to do what I want to do, the happier you will be, just as a general statement. So ultimately, I appreciate the question. I understand the question. It's a question we get asked on a quasi-regular basis, but flipping it back, it honestly doesn't matter. Just do it.
Counterpoint. A little bit. Just a little bit.
Little bit.
I don't know I'm not so sure if it's a confidence issue with the person who asked the question so much of it's just
pondering.
Pondering and expressing frustration.
That I got.
Yeah. Speaking as someone who has spent most of their life on the fringes in many cultural aspects and has not been on the in crowd, it can suck. Humans are wired to be social creatures. So if the social milieu that you're in growing up, especially in freaking high school, stuff like that, you don't feel or don't want to be a part of, it still stings. You can be a really strong individualist, but it can still be freaking hard. So I think it is a frustration. It can be a source of frustration. It can be a source of pain. It is the storm you got to weather.
I know.
You know?
And
So
I struggle with
you're
it.
absolutely right. I am not contradicting anything you're saying.
I
It's
know,
just like,
I know. And I struggle with saying things like that. In all honesty, like fully transparent. I struggle with saying with things like that because I know like how I felt in high school. I wasn't wearing kilts and stuff like that, but I didn't have a huge friend group. I wasn't the cool kid. Shocker. But
I think you're pretty cool.
yeah, but it's one of those where I struggle with it too. But I wish I could go back in time and just like shove it into my brain of, dude, that dude doesn't matter. Football jock dude doesn't matter. That chick who said that thing doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Don't care. Stop caring now.
Right.
Don't do it. You can't do that to people. So these types of things,
Yep.
I struggle with because on the other side of the mountain, now that you have the lens of experience, now that you have the lens of age, now that you're over the other side and you've reached the old and curmudgeonly point in your life that you don't care nearly as much as you did, you have a different perspective and it's tough to get through. And I want to will it upon younger people to understand it, even though I know that they have to go through it. And it sucks. And I don't want them to have to go through it. I want to shortcut it for them. I want to say, but trust me, it's good over here. Don't worry about it. It's going to get better. And I can't always do that. And it's a frustration I personally have. But I'll just keep saying dumb stuff like I say now, and hopefully it'll eventually sink in.
It is not. Nothing you're saying is dumb. I think there are
Everything I say is dumb.
Well, okay, certainly isn't everything we ever say dumb in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, no, it's just like it's yeah. I feel for all the kids out there every day.
Yeah.
At the same time, I see a lot more open-minded and accepting young people these days. And I think that there is there's a reason why kilts are more popular now. It's because more people have decided they don't give a damn about getting flack for it, and they want the cultural expression, and they want the enjoyment, and they want that sense of individualism, and they've decided to take that heroic step to actually go out and do something that's nonconformist. So we have more heroic people among us than we may realize. So you can do it.
Yes.
It's an after-school special.
And I'll tie it back into the continue tartan.
Yes.
Exactly.
For those who may not, who see this as a separate clip, the continue tartan is a tartan created by a friend of ours for suicide awareness.
Correct. So I'll tie it all together, whether it's whether it's just depression or whether it's contemplating suicide, no matter what it is, ultimately, you have to shift your brain. It's not an easy thing. I'm not saying everyone can do it, but you have to start focusing on the positives and the people who care about you and the things that are going right, not just the things that are going wrong. It's not focusing on, oh, the world would be better without me. It's not, oh, that person doesn't like me or that person said negative things about me. And if they're in your life and they're bullies in school or whatever, it's going to be a constant battle, yes. But you focus on the people who do care about you. Focus on the things you do have. Focus on the things you can be grateful for, and cut out as much as is humanly possible the negative things, and just focus on the positive stuff and move that direction. Move towards the things that make you happy. Move towards the things that are positive, and cut out as many of the negative things as you can, and it will get better. I promise.
Yeah. And find your tribe. I mean, getting flack for wearing a kilt is small potatoes compared to getting flack for the color of your skin or other things about you that you can't change.
Physical
or don't
deformities or abnormalities, whatever.
Or, yeah. So it's find your peer group, find your tribe, find people who will back you up and get you. And that makes a huge difference, too. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Never give up. Never surrender.
I'll add a little something here too, just from observing the group that we have, Kilts and Culture. I think sometimes folks within our community perceive greater negativity and worse words like prejudice and bigotry in situations where not that much was actually intended. And be mindful of the difference between actual prejudice and bigotry. Like sometimes people say, oh, some guy told me nice skirt today. I can't believe such bigotry. And the reality is I think that guy he might have just been joshing around. Like sometimes you see that person, and if you have something snappy and witty to say something back, they just, oh, he was cool, that was funny, that was good interaction. They walk away from it with a positive interaction to a guy in a skirt. But likewise, if you turn around and negative and blow up and make a scene, then what was that asshole in a skirt? The next guy who he sees in a kill, he might think or assume the same thing of, and that's not a great way for that person to think about that. But be mindful where there's actual,
and
bigotry versus
there's
perceived.
something to that.
I'm gonna paraphrase myself. There's a quote that I've quoted about quoting, about anger is a gift you don't have to receive.
Right.
I will expand it or paraphrase it a little bit and say negativity is a gift you don't have to receive. If someone is being negative to you and you have the mental fortitude or the situational awareness to be able to walk away from the thing and leave the negativity with them, don't let it ruin your day. If someone's being an ass, let them be an ass and don't let it ruin your day. Let them be the one thinking they're funny or cool or whatever in front of their friends, or let them think that they've gotten under your skin, but don't let it. It's easier said than done, yes. But focus on removing yourself from the situation and focus on positive things and let them languish in the fact that they didn't get under your skin. And that will annoy them more than having gotten under your skin. They want a reaction. Don't give them the reaction. Yeah. Walk away and be the bigger person. And then you're training them that, oh, I'm not going to get a reaction, so I guess I'll just stop doing the thing. I guess I'll stop poking that particular button.
Maybe.
It might work.
Don't feed the troll.
It's bad. Yeah, don't feed the trolls is another good way to say it. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say I've been a daily kilt wearer for long enough that I can see the look on somebody's face when they're kind of screwing themselves up for one of these smart-ass type comments that aren't bigotry, but they are negative. I'll give an example. Sometimes I'm walking into the Wawa across the street and somebody stops to hold the door, but then they look back and they see me, guy in a skirt as they see it, and I can see them like the wheels are turning. They're about to get there, and I'll cut it off. I'll cut it off because I've seen it in advance. I already know the look on the face. I'm just like, oh, you're just holding the door for me because I'm a pretty guy in a skirt, and then they get a little chuckle, and that guy's humorous, and they move on with their day, and or they tell me their family history. One of the two.
I mean, sometimes it is just a processing thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, what?
I think that's different from the negativity we're talking about. But,
yeah.
But sometimes it's just like,
I wasn't expecting expecting this today. I have to have a smart-ass comment about it.
Speaking of smart-ass comments, it reminds me of the when you started talking about that. You're like, the wheels are spinning. I'm like, yes, the wheels are spinning, but the hamster's dead.
Right.
In this case, I think the hamster's just a little slow.
They're a little rusty.
Yeah.
Was that you or yeah, that was you? Mm-hmm. Ian, we'll do one more from you.
Yeah, that was a long one.
Yeah.
But it was worth it was
A long one,
good
but an
discussion.
important one. Yeah.
It was a good discussion.
Agreed.
I'm going to share a question from Steve Walters. He wants to know, what's the story with the Hebridean tartans? Hebridean tartans.
Hebridean.
Hebridean.
Yeah,
I'll get
that
there
was,
eventually.
Hey, I
Yes.
had that
Hey,
question.
the next question. Hey, Eric, why don't you ask a question too?
Hey, Steve Walters asked, "What's the story with the Hebridean tartans?"
That's a great question, Eric. I'm so glad you asked it.
I think what happened is everybody has left.
it's just
so
that
he has
guy.
nobody commenting. He has no
Exactly.
questions. So he actually pulled it off the page. Oh, that's bad.
You had to call me out, didn't you?
That's not good.
The Hebridean tartans are a collection of tartans from House of Edgar. Essentially, what I'll say defines the Hebridean tartans for House of Edgar, which is one of the mills in Scotland, is they use marled yarns, either all marled or some marled yarns in the production of the cloth. Now, marled, going one step back, marled yarns are yarns with two colors, the individual strands, the individual yarns of wool that are in the fabric are two colors twisted together. So let's say it's a light green and a slightly darker green twisted together, or two shades of gray or whatever. And when you twist those together, you kind of get this mottled or this marbleized kind of effect called marling. So the definition of the Hebridean collection is marled yarns. What's the story with them? So glad you asked. Insert clip and link to House of Edgar interview here. The marled yarns were something that House of Edgar did, and as a fashiony kind of thing. Giving you a little bit of evolution. What happened was about 6 years ago, I'm gonna guess 7 years ago, we started getting from Loch Carron, Martin Mills did it, some of the mills, like the little tiny mills, the Hebridean mills, the Harris Tweed mills, started producing tartan in Harris Tweed. And then Martin Mills and Loch Carron started saying, we could do some tweed tartans. That's kind of cool. It's different. It's something new and a different fashiony twist on tartans. So they started producing a few different tartan tweeds, as it were. And then House of Edgar, I'm not saying that this is not me saying they knocked off the idea. They've said, okay, well, this is something neat and different that is now occurring in tartan fashion, so to speak. So they started saying, well, maybe we should do something similar but different. So they took it a slightly different direction. Credit to them, they weren't just copying. And they said, okay, well, we can use these marled yarns that we've used in other tweeds or in other tartans, and have a whole collection based on that. So they started, I guess the Hebridean collection really started in 2012 or 13.
Oh, that early?
Yeah, but there was only 4 of them.
Okay.
There was the Hebridean Cairn, the Hebridean Heather.
Oh, yeah.
Those. There was the
Craghorn or something like that.
4 gray ones.
Cairngorm.
Yeah. But they started out with 4, and they kind of ticked along, okay. And then the tartan tweeds kind of came in, and then House of Edgar expanded into this broad range of Hebridean tartans, which is like the marled yarns. And they've done some cool and different things with it. Some of them are actually woven in a herringbone pattern, not just twill. Mm-hmm. So if you look closely at it, look beyond the tartan at the actual weaving, instead of just a singular angle, you actually have chevrons or a herringbone pattern in it. Some of them have like a neat thing that they've done with the selvage. Like they've done some different cool twist, fashiony kind of things on it. They started off with just made up, I'll call them universal tartans that they designed just for fun. And it kind of caught on with some of the hire companies, the rental companies over in Scotland, where they said like, ooh, we should do more universal tartans, or they were already doing universal tartans. And then they said, but these are like different and fashiony and cool and forward thinking. So they started carrying some of those. One company actually took like one of their, the Balmoral, not Balmoral, the Hebridean Heather, I think it is. And they did like, which has like a maroon claret kind of color with a bunch of grays. And they said, oh, we're going to do Hebridean Fire and Hebridean Ice. And then they just changed the color to bright red or bright blue or bright purple or whatever to kind of have a collection of different colors within the same tartan. So they're just doing fashion-based things with tartan because that's what the market in Scotland was clamoring for and demanding at the time, especially in the higher trade, where it's tends to skew younger, tends to skew 20s, where they want to do something fashion forward, not necessarily family related. Now, fast forward 2 or 3 years where they've had the Hebridean collection with these cool fashiony kind of designs, and they said, okay, what's the next step? What else do we do? Well, let's screw it. Let's kind of give a fashiony twist on traditional tartans. So they said, okay, we're going to do a Hebridean collection of, I think they did like 15 or 20, roughly
more,
10 or 15 names, specific tartans, like official clan tartans. But let's do marled yarns, or let's do a slightly different twist on it. So black watched instead of navy blue, let's like do a charcoal with marled yarns. Or for MacLeod of Lewis, let's do a bright, or not bright, excuse me, let's do a marled yellow and goldish kind of color with charcoal and a blood red that's marled as well. So they're still honoring traditional clan tartans. They're not screwing around with the thread count or anything. They're just screwing around with the color palette or the marled colors in the palette for different designs. And they've had a reasonable amount of success with it. I'm not sure how much in the US necessarily, but in Scotland, where people are looking for fashion-forward ways to express either their national pride or their family pride, they're giving them ways to do that. What are your thoughts on the Hebridean collection?
What?
Yes.
Sorry, I fell asleep.
Me, long-winded, no, never.
I have no thoughts whatsoever.
Good. Ian, what are your thoughts on that?
That's basically it, yeah. I like them.
I like them quite a bit. There's several that I want. I only own one. I've got the Dark Island Pete. I think I wore that on the November show, if I remember correctly. Yes, I do know it sounds very bad.
Hey, Dark Island Pete here.
It sounds
It's
like
his pirate name.
it sounds like something from like a 18th century like sidekick to Krampus or something like that. It doesn't sound good. But it's a really beautiful tartan.
Let's get back on topic, please. Write your letters to Ian@usakilts.com.
There's several great looking tartans. Matt, one of the guys that works in the store, owns one as well. My daughter's thinking about getting one. Note that they can all be gotten. If you're interested in one, email us or call us, and we can get it for you even if it's not on the website.
We're going to put them on the website. We haven't gotten around to it. We're kind of waiting for the new website to have them on because they're already in the gallery, but it's getting to that process is exhausting, let's say. And we'll leave it there. All right. Question of the day. Let's go back to the brown tartan or brown sporrans. What tartan or which sporran do you want to see in brown? Show us links, whether it's our company or another company. What is the brown or what is this sporran design that you see that you must have and it must be brown? Let us know. Indeed. All right. Very good. Thank you, boys and girls, for tuning in. And until next time,